Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our reaction to qualifying at Monza, and that was a very fun session. We went in there thinking there's about 4 different teams that could potentially take pole. Realistically, by the time we get to Q3, it's only really 3 teams who can take pole, but we will talk about all of that and more as we continue here, starting with Q1. But before we get into that, firstly, like and subscribe, of course, but a big shout out to our members as well: Dakota, The Joyous James, Robin Myers, and Cinnamon Strudel. If you want to become a member, there is a link in the description. You can get a shout out on these videos as well. So let's go into Q1, and the main thing to talk about is Red Bull, because we know that they're not the fastest car anymore by quite some margin. But today has been tough on Red Bull, and it started quite hard for Sergio Perez, who with 4 minutes to go in Q1 was down in 19th place and struggling. He was able to make it through, though, later on. Also not going too well for Max Verstappen, who, as on his way out of the pit box, there was an unsafe release from Oscar Piastri, who nearly hit Max. So that wasn't good. Hopefully that doesn't happen again later on in the session. Apparently, though, that if they are found guilty of doing an unsafe release, it will just be a fine, which I think makes sense, because realistically there's no point in... It would be unfair to punish Oscar for that one, because there's not really much he could do. That's all up to his team. Colapinto, Forever Colapinto, this is his first qualifying session of his F1 career. He's with the Williams team after swapping him and Sargent round in the week. Looks good in the practice sessions, especially FP3 really quite got into a stride there, had some good times, wasn't too far off of Albon, and Williams always go well here. You know, we may remember a few years ago when Nick de Vries was the one who stepped in for Alexander Albon whilst he was having his appendix removed, and he had a fantastic race. I think he scored points. He was like 9th or 8th, and that was the fantastic result, which kind of went into him getting that seat in the AlphaTauri, or whatever they were called at that point in time, which then led to the demise of Nick de Vries. Williams always tend to go reasonably well around Monza, so I was expecting good things to Colapinto, but unfortunately on his final fast lap he just kind of goes a bit deep, goes through the gravel. Amazingly though, manages to save it and hold on and carry on with the lap. Obviously, you're not going to go too fast if you go through the gravel, but the car control, I thought, was very good. So Colapinto doesn't get through, but hopefully has some good pace for the race tomorrow. At this point, Lewis Hamilton's on the radio, and yesterday in FP2, both Mercedes drivers were complaining that their seats were really hot. Now, this seemed to go away in FP3, but it's back again for Lewis Hamilton in qualifying, so no idea what that issue is there. Kevin Magnussen also has a trip in the gravel. That ruins his final lap, but that's okay in the end. And then Max Verstappen has a weird one here, where he goes fast in Sector 1, he gets a purple sector, so fastest of everyone in Sector 2, but then just before he crosses the line, he backs off and doesn't really complete the lap. I thought at that point, oh, Red Bull are hiding some pace here. They don't want everyone to know how fast they are. Now I know what their true pace is. No idea why they did this. But anyway, those who were out: Zhou yet again finishes 20th, Bottas in 19th, Colapinto has to settle for 18th place on his first race. But I was thinking afterwards though, you know, if we go back to where Sargent was starting, he would start around about 18th, and Colapinto has equalled that on his first race weekend. So far in qualifying, they're about the same level, and Colapinto's run on his first race. So it's a good sign so far. Stroll 17th, Yuki Tsunoda in 16th. We'll go into Q2 now, and no real big surprises here, realistically. Ocon was 15th, Gasly 14th, Magnussen 13th, Ricciardo in 12th, Fernando Alonso missing out on Q3. He was in 11th by 0.010. So very, very close for Fernando Alonso, between the difference between getting into the final stage of qualifying and getting knocked out. And as we go into the final stage of qualifying, Q3, there's yet another unsafe release. This time Carlos Sainz, and he nearly hits Max again. Max had to do a proper big swerve there, went off out of the fast lane of the pit lane to make sure he didn't hit him. So I imagine a fine will be coming the way of Ferrari. After everyone did their first laps in Q3, this was our top 10. So it was Albon in 10th, then Hulkenberg, Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Russell, Piastri and Norris. Piastri just 0.035 off of Norris, but the big shocker there was Perez beating Verstappen, with Perez on used tyres as well. Verstappen on new tyres, but just not being able to get the car around in a quick time, really struggling. Then, as we go into the final stages of qualifying, this is our top 10 for tomorrow. So it is Nico Hulkenberg in 10th, Albon's 9th, Perez in 8th, Verstappen in 7th, Lewis Hamilton is 6th, Carlos Sainz 5th, Charles Leclerc 4th, George Russell 3rd, Oscar Piastri 2nd, Lando Norris on pole position. So a few things to take away from there. A front row lockout for McLaren. They are absolutely incredible at the moment. Lando Norris, I think, was about a 10th or so ahead of Piastri in the end. A fantastic lap from Russell sees him 3rd, beating both Ferraris. They're in 4th and 5th. Charles Leclerc not happy at all on the radio here. Ferrari looking good at the start of the day, but as we come to the close of Saturday, maybe not being as far forward as they would have expected. But the big shocker here is the Red Bulls. My God, have they struggled here. Max Verstappen starting 7th place. Now, this is a track that's never really been too good for him. I know he's won the last 2 here, but before that, he's never really shone in Monza, so maybe it's one that he doesn't like too much, but either way, 7th place, not great for Max. He'll be hoping for something much better tomorrow, because next week, well, not next week, in 2 weeks' time, it's Singapore, and Red Bull were awful there, and that's when they were good. So this could be a tough few weeks for Red Bull as they try to cling on to those championships that they have. I mean, they could lose the lead of the Constructors' Championship this time tomorrow, but the Drivers' Championship is the big one. They have the big lead in, they'll be hoping to keep that there, but I think we are setting up for what should be a very fun race. Yet again, Lando Norris on pole. The question will come up again. Will he be leading as we go into, as we close lap 1 this time tomorrow? He has his teammate alongside, so there could be some team games played within there to try and help him, but the way I see it, I don't think McLaren really want to be dealing with team orders yet again after what went down in Hungary, so they should be free to race. They're going to have Russell behind them, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton. They'll all be hungry and they'll all have the pace. And then, of course, Max Verstappen is Max Verstappen, so even in a Red Bull that is underperforming, you can never truly count him out. So he'll be there as well. Should make for a very interesting race. And of course, I'll be here to discuss all of it with you this time tomorrow, as well as the Formula 2 and Formula 3. The final race of the Formula 3 season comes to us tomorrow. We will crown a brand new champion. All of that to come on the channel tomorrow. Should be a very exciting day. I will see you then. Until then, though, have a good one. I'll see you later. Goodbye.